This is Recruiting Unfiltered. He's a Division I player.
Committed for suicide, basically.
We're going to cover the full gamut. Now, roster limits actually become a detriment.
High school athletes need to really open their eyes.
We are here to talk everything recruiting. Recruiting Unfiltered. All right, guys, welcome into Recruiting Unfiltered. I am Sean Salisbury, and also welcome in my co-host Larry Perrin. He's the Executive Director at NSR. Larry, I've been giving a lot of thought to the dedication of scouts. By the way, I hope you had a great weekend. I know you were out doing some scouting at a combine this weekend, and I imagine that was nice and informing and fulfilling for you as well. So it's good to talk to you, brother.
Yeah, man. We were at Flag City Throwdown in Millington, Tennessee, and it was 16 teams, just kind of a friendly event. It doesn't count against their schedule or anything, but it was just a good tune-up for the season that's coming up in the high school softball world in the Mid-South there. So we saw a lot of NSR athletes. We saw a lot of potential new athletes. We talked to several high school coaches and developed some relationships with some of those that we didn't already have. And it was just a great event. It was cold now. The wind was blowing in Memphis this weekend.
There you go. Hence, elements matter in sports, Larry, as we well know. So start them early and get them rolling. Let me ask you, one thing I don't think I've ever talked with you about on this show is what's the hardest part about scouting other people in your job?
Well, I'm going to look at it from the other side of that question. There's so many pluses from scouting the athletes. Mm-hmm. And it's about building relationships with families. It's about, helping those families down the path of recruiting. It's being an advocate on that athlete's behalf. But to get them started, it's just about developing relationships with them where they see you as the expert in recruiting, which we are. We live this every single day. This is what we do 24/7. So, they have to understand that we know the rules. We know the coaches, and we have these conversations with college coaches every single day that Joe Public doesn't have. We know the needs at certain schools, and where we're able to help the kids fish in the correct pond. So, that's just, I guess, breaking down the myths of recruiting that some of these parents seem to think are true. If I just go to Twitter and post my video out there, some coach is going to find me. That's not true. That my travel ball coach has got this. That's not true. If I'm good enough, they'll find me. That is definitely not true. And my grades don't matter.
Not in this landscape, right?
Yeah. My grades don't matter. You might want to rethink that because there's scholarships today in most sports, and you need to be able to blend financial aid, academic and athletically, to help offset that debt.
Larry, with that, and we're going to get to our guest. It's going to be a good one today, as well as we always do each week. Have a really good one on. When you find with most of these families that come to you with a little trepidation, early on, everybody when it's recruiting, is it because of the confusion and the goalposts constantly being moved? When a family comes to you, and our next guest will be great to talk about this too when we bring him in, but when a family comes to you, what is usually their biggest concern about it? Is it their, and I don't mean ignorance that they don't know, but because it changes, is not knowing enough about recruiting or how people are going to see them? Is that their biggest concern?
Well, yes, it's the fear of the unknown. That's the biggest hurdle we have to overcome, is they don't know what they don't know. And, and what we have to do is we've got to point out to them some of the things that they do not realize are true. And, that fear of that unknown is a big deal for families. That causes trepidation, that causes wanting to wait, that causes, families holding back on things that they should be moving forward with, because every day that you delay, somebody else is getting another spot ahead of you, and it's just pushing you down. And people don't realize that there's a finite number of opportunities that are available out there, and there could be an infinite number of athletes searching for the same spot. So let's let's sit back and wait on it. Maybe some coach is going to send me a text or a DM. That's not going to happen, y'all. It's those.
But you'll wait your way right out of being recruited, won't you, Larry? You'll wait your way right out of a scholarship.
Absolutely, man. It's those who are proactive, those who take control of their recruiting process, those that follow the instructions that we give them are those that are going to get the first opportunities.
Awesome. Well, let's bring in our next guest. He'll be awesome to talk about. He is the Midwest Area Director for NSR, and obviously heavily involved and very good at it. And he's even got some family involved, and we'll get into that as well. Mark Galyean. Mark, welcome in. It's great to have you in as a first-time guest on the show here on Recruiting Unfiltered. Let me start here. What made you want to be a scout? Well, what led to you being in the position you're in? And welcome in, brother.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Larry. Appreciate you guys having me. To be very transparent, I saw what it did for my kid. Once I saw he was going through the process, we were going through the process. We did our due diligence. We found NSR. And after I saw how it was handled with him and how things changed almost immediately with him and for him, I decided, wow, I was 55 back then, but I decided this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, for the rest of my career. And then so many things continue to happen since then. And just to justify or validate, I made the right decision.
Outstanding. Hey, Mark, tell us a little bit about Tyler. Tell us, what his metrics were in high school. And he was a lefty, right?
Back then, I think he was, he was a lefty, 6'3", 6'4", lefty, touching 86, 87 in January of his junior year. And we were going to all the events. We were going to all the events that you can find throughout the country. And coaches were there. This is just before COVID hit. But this was going on pretty hot and heavy for him. And we went down, it was a fall event. We went down just before then. We went to the WWBA in Fort Myers, and he threw 4 innings, gave up a hit against an arsenal of kids that are already committed. And he come back and he said, "Dad, what do I need to do?" So I did my due diligence, and mind you, I've got a almost 35-year-old that played collegiately as well. 12 years older, but it was a little different situation back then. But I did my due diligence. I looked at everything out there, and we found NSR. And I'm happy to say, within a few weeks, he started getting offers, and then within 3 months, he was committed to one of his top schools.
And that Mark Galyean, the executive Midwest Area Director, should I say, of NSR, and Larry Perrin, the executive director of NSR, join us here on our weekly show, Recruiting Unfiltered. Mark, when you saw that, now before your son was being recruited, or when he was in his youth, I'm talking about the youngest one, was there a point in time when you said that you were sour on the recruiting process as you started to see him get up? Were you sour on it before you saw what NSR could do?
No, and the reason I wasn't, his high school coach was a former SEC player, former professional player at the high school. It was his high school coach. And one of his travel ball coaches the year before was a coach at Ohio State. And then his travel coach was a scout, a professional scout. So we felt we had connections, and they had the process. So I didn't really have any reason to be sour. We knew he could play at the next level. We didn't know what level, but we thought he could play at the next level based on as long as I've been around the game. But then when he came to me and said, "What do I need to do?" then I knew what we were doing wasn't right. It wasn't working. I put my eggs in one basket, or a couple baskets, if you will. And although I truly believe they had his best interest in hand, they just couldn't do what NSR was able to do for my kid.
Walk us through it a little bit. Once he got involved with his scout, walk us through that first 30, 35, 40 days there. Did he went from I'm sure I've seen the process happen, and I know what goes on. But tell us about the amount of contact that he started receiving. You said it happened pretty quick, right?
It did. I mean, his scout coach obviously requested video. Okay, so we had all the clips. These are things that we have been emailing, I mean, daily, filling out questionnaires daily, and just blasting things out with video from him. I understood enough that they're recruiting the athlete, they're not recruiting me. Okay, my time was long gone, but everything was coming from him. I felt like we were doing what we were told and everything the right way. So once he was evaluated, we went through a coach's interview, and he was offered, and we accepted to have NSR support him. And I can tell you, once things were set up within a couple of days, within a week, he was on the phone talking to coaches. And he would always want to do it in his room. And I remember I was outside that room trying to listen to everything, at least the one side of everything that was going on. And then he started getting offers. I mean, I remember his first recruiting call was from a school 12 hours from us. 12 hours. And they continued to talk a little bit, and then he started getting his offers. His first offer was a full ride for a very high level D2 school, and we weren't a division family. Let's go find the right fit. But it didn't have his academics. It didn't have his major, what he wanted to do, and that led to other opportunities and offers. And finally, I remember shortly after I started scouting for NSR, I reached out to a school that ended up where he ended up going, about another kid. I never mixed the two, but I asked about another kid that I just wanted to find out if they were looking for a middle infielder. And the coach, the recruiting coordinator, said, "No, we're not, but we're looking at this big lefty from Westfield," and which is where we obviously where we live. And that told me, wow, this program works, and it made me believe.
Mark you'll hear you travel coach, scout for NSR. You're an NSR parent. You're the Midwest Area Director for NSR. When you hear people say, or you've lived it, with travel coaches, they got the recruiting handled. With the travel ball coaches, is it too much to ask of a travel ball coach to do all this at once? Can they handle all this? And from your experiences, how difficult was it to do both?
As much of and I say all three of these that I'm referring to, his travel coaches, his high school coach. His high school coach has known him since he was 6 weeks old. Okay, I knew they had his best interest in hand. I also knew they were all very well connected. But I also found out very quickly they could not put in the time that was needed and required to actually get the job done. I mean, one of my best friends it was his high school coach, and he runs an academy, and he's in a cage 10 hours a day, giving lessons and working with kids and coaching a team. His mentor, if you will, was a professional scout. Okay, he's on the road all the day. So this is we found out very quickly that although they had the best intentions, his best intentions, they could not do what was really needed to be done during those times. Because keep in mind, COVID hit right after that. And he didn't have visits. It was all over video. It was all over communicating with his scout about him, talking to his coaches a little bit, of course, but trying to get recruited. And there were no official visits he could take. So there was a lot of challenges during that time. But I still think those challenges are a pale in comparison to what kids in high school are dealing with today.
Tyler was the epitome of the NSR athlete, and he went on to have a great career collegiately, and he finished his schooling. Tell us a little bit about what he's doing now.
So Tyler, I mentioned earlier that he had full ride offer at a very good Division II school that he turned down because he wanted to go pre-med. We had that conversation. You're wanting to go pre-med, and you're wanting to pitch at the collegiate level. Are you insane? Are you really sure you want to do this? And he did. He's very, very driven, very dedicated, very motivated to do what he wants to do. But as his college career came to a close, he decided that and we were on with a group last night, and we did a recruiting seminar for a school of all sport athletes. And his exact words were, to answer your question, Larry, he's an NSR scout, area scout for us. That is something that was offered to him. He took advantage of it. I feel he's done quite well. But one of the things he said to these families last night was, I want to help athletes realize the same gift or dream that I had and got to play my years in college. And he said, I want to do the same thing and try and give back.
How do you guys deal with it? How do you guys deal with it together? I mean, how's that battle of who knows more and who could get more? Is there a competitive in-family competition?
It's of course there's competitive and there's no doubt about that. The hard part is, he's still living at home. We work together. We golf together. We do so much together that, like every father-son, you're going to have those speed bumps that you have to just take a step back and realize, man, we're spending way too much time together. But honestly, Sean, it's so much fun to hear him talk to these families, and it's more importantly, student athletes. And it's a whole different perspective than the three of us. I mean, we've already had our time, and we're to hear him talk as a kid, 23 years old, that is talking to this prospective student athlete as a mentor, if you will. A lot of they almost look at him like a big brother, whatever the case might be. But it's really rewarding to see him be successful in what we're doing, and more importantly, having him, he does all of his work out of his room, out of his bedroom. But I'm able to hear a lot of that and have that communication with these families. And then a couple of weeks ago, I had a dad pull me aside. We were at an academy doing a metrics combine, and the kids were there, and he said, I just need to tell you, thank you for what your son's done for my kids. It was very rewarding. It was so cool.
That's everything. And just a quick follow-up on this. If you had one piece of advice, a kid who's, if you're Peyton Manning, you probably got to have to fight off recruiters instead of go find them. But if you have one piece, I'm talking about one, and a kid and their family's at a crossroads. And Larry, this is for you as well. And I'm sure you faced it. That I'm sitting on a crossroads. Do I do it or do I don't? Or the one piece of advice about recruiting or getting with a company like NSR. What is the one piece of advice or the biggest piece of advice you would give a kid who's a tweener that may grow into a great, who knows what division, but has got that potential, but isn't sure what they want to do with it and how they're going to get recruited? One piece of advice or the biggest piece of advice both of you would give to a person sitting on the fence.
Larry, I have mine. Go ahead. I want to see what you say.
I'm going to say, first of all, it starts with that evaluation. We have to evaluate the athlete to determine if they've got a skill set that translates to the next level. We are not an open enrollment company. We do not take every athlete that comes along. If they're not a good fit for what we do, and we don't feel like the athlete's going to do the things we need them to do, then we can't move forward with that family. But if we find an athlete and a family that's supportive and they have a skill set that translates to the next level, my thing is, just like I said earlier, do not wait. Do not wait. Take advantage of the time that you have available. It's never too early. And I'm telling you, college coaches are building their boards more and more earlier because, they do have their contact dates. But that's the dates when offers and stuff go out. That evaluation starts early where they're building their boards. They're getting these kids to camps on campus where they're actually able to see them play and to do a full evaluation of them. And then they start tracking their progression to get towards that offer date. So, don't wait. That's my biggest thing is don't tarry because the job's going to be gone by the time you get there potentially.
I was going to say the same. I was going to say don't make it a sprint, but I'll go in the other direction. Worry about your own journey. Okay. Don't worry about little Susie, what little Susie's doing, what little Johnny's doing. Everyone's recruiting journey is different. Different kids develop quicker. Different kids mature faster. Stay in your lane. Just focus on your journey. And make sure, well, that's two things, but a second part of that, making sure that you don't miss out on opportunities, which is kind of a segue to what just was stated.
And Mark, it's got to be, getting into your feels a little bit. It's got to be really joyful to you. You see, pre-med student, he pitched, and now pops and son get to work together. That's got to be a really cool experience. Aside from all the joking we do, that's got to be something that has to matter to you every day, to be able to see your son and do the things you're doing and follow in Pop's footsteps.
So we just got back last month from the ABCA in Columbus, Ohio, and we're talking to coaches of all levels. As a matter of fact, he finally got to meet the coach that recruited him and was actually had already transferred. He's now a coach at that school, but they never met in person. Okay, so he got to see that coach for the first time. But some of the coaches and a lot of his buddies are now coaches in college. And I usually thought I was one of the coaches wanted to talk to, and it seems like they're going right past me and talking to him because he just finished it up. But I mean, he was talking to coaches from at all levels, from all over the country. He looks the part, there's no doubt about it. But they can talk the game. But yeah, it's really rewarding to see his success and how I'm hoping and believing his career is going to continue with NSR.
And he's a heck of a golfer because I played with him, and I'm gonna tell you, he can mash.
Can't they all? I mean, they hit it 300 and it's a yawner now. It's ridiculous, man. Absolutely ridiculous. Well, Mark, great stuff, man. Well, let me ask you this: what's your greatest? What's your favorite sport? I mean, I know you recruit them all, as do Larry and as do I. But if you had one when you wake up and say that one that you say, I mean, maybe the baseball bats in the background give it away because I know your expertise, but your expertise on recruiting, period. But do you still love baseball the same way you did after being in it and watching your son go through it as you do now? I mean, is there a difference, or is it heightened because now you're seeing what your son and you are doing together?
No, it's heightened. But I mean, for example, Sunday at 8 a.m. I was at a volleyball event, and
Right.
I never even deviated from baseball for the first almost 5.5 years of my career with NSR. But I had a couple of volleyball athletes that asked me to come see him play. 8 o'clock in the morning, of course, and it was snowing and everything else. But went and saw them play, and then families are introduced to me, some of their friends. But baseball is always going to be my passion. Both kids played. I loved it. I mean, I couldn't hit a curveball with a tennis racket, but I absolutely loved the game. But every time I call it the call. Every time I get the call, and that call can be, "Hey, coach, I'm going on a visit. Hey, coach, I got my first offer. Hey, coach, I'm going to go play here." And they're always wanting to say thank you. And I didn't throw the ball. I didn't hit the ball. I didn't catch the ball. I helped made the journey a little easier. I had conversation with dad and mom that sometimes talk them off a ledge. We still get calls. I'm sure Larry and you will as well, Sean. We get calls, especially the first 6 months of a kid's first year of college. Have no idea what they're getting into, but that's a fun call too. And just saying, "Hey, just relax. It's going to be okay." I love it more than I did. I mean, yeah, it's great that Tyler's in the business. I couldn't change anything there, but the business is so fun and so rewarding. And the one thing is getting that call from that kid or that family.
Larry, and I would imagine it's a life. I mean, we talk about rewards and making a difference. You really are, because you're changing the course of a kid's life by at least leading them to the right path and the right box they're headed in, correct?
Absolutely. I had a reunion with one of my NSR families this weekend when I was at a softball event in Millington, Tennessee. And it's a football player. And now I'm looking at his sister as a softball athlete. And, we're so blessed to be able to be in this business where we get to develop these relationships with these families. And these families, it doesn't stop when they commit to their program. Like Mark said, you get those questions. The kid is actually drinking from a fire hose that first year of college, and we help them with that as well, and calm them down and help them get through that process. So it's just a great relationship building opportunity for us, and that's why I'm in it. Some of the funnest things that we get to do is we get to go to Indianapolis every year, and we get to go with Mark up there to to Round Tripper, to Powerhouse, to Grand Park to see all these athletes and help him with his combines and help him, scout these huge events. And we see the passion that these families have for Mark and his family, and we see Mark's passion for these kids as well. And it's just a great opportunity to build these relationships with these families that hopefully are going to last for many years to come.
And I can validate that. I spent 3 days at a baseball tournament here in Houston, and you guys well know there's some pretty highly skilled talent in this state and in this city. And seeing some of the best and takes you back to that competitive nature and the competitive juices flowing and how into it. And I was mesmerized by how much talent there is, guys, not only top end talent, but how much talent there is for kids that are really gifted that aren't getting recruited. Right. And in talking and listening to coaches, and there was a couple scouts from schools there and talking to coaches from a previous game. It's amazing that are out there that are looking for that pathway. And Mark found it, Larry's found it, kids have found it, and hopefully we're a part of helping them find it. But it brings back those memories when we were playing, going back and watching this talent, watching a guy paint at 90 and guys go opposite field home run and take an extra base and the enthusiasm. It was a blast to watch and love the passion. There's places out there and there's places for these kids to go that they just don't know about yet. And that's half the battle of having us help them find it, guys.
And one thing I do want to say to add to that, Sean, nobody tells this story better than that former athlete who's fresh out of college, who's now scouting athletes. Nobody tells that story better. I can tell you stories that happened in the early 80s when I played, but they're not relevant any longer. But that athlete talking to these families that just came out of that process and just had all of the benefits of working with a scout that was being an advocate on their behalf, that's magical to have that in your territory there, Mark, and to have that tool available to send out to talk to these families. And we've seen Tyler come in as a new scout and just kind of relish his role and start to understand where he fits in this process. And it's just great watching him mature in this business now as well. We've all known Tyler since he was in high school. And it's just awesome to see the young man that he's turned into.
Thank you.
And dealing with those pitfalls of recruiting and dealing with the rewards of recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big reason why we're here. And two of the best in the business at Executive Director of NSR, Larry Perrin, and obviously the Midwest Area Director for NSR, Mark Galyean, and bring his boy into it. We're going to watch that ascent to see when he's bossing you around, Mark. That'll be fun to watch, brother. And isn't that the goal?
Yeah, absolutely.
That'll be the goal.
No doubt about that.
There you go. You guys do great work. Thanks for spending your time on a podcast. And to Brett, the producer, there's nobody better, man. Thank you for all you do for this and setting this up each and every week. And we'll do it again next week. For Larry, for Mark, I'm Sean. We'll do it again. And for Brett, thank you so much for being a part of Recruiting Unfiltered. Don't wait.